My name is Ruth Elaine Hargrave, and if you're reading this, you've probably heard half the story, the version that makes people feel more comfortable, the polite version, told at book clubs and whispered on porches. She just left one morning, packed her things, and vanished. But I didn't vanish. I stepped out of a shadow I'd been taught to call shelter. It began when my husband, Warren, passed. 42 years of marriage, a quiet man, loved his flannel shirts, crossword puzzles, and blueberry pancakes on Sunday. We raised 3 boys in that brick house on Halberd Street, watched them grow, fall in love, move away. They visited for holidays, sent cards sometimes, but when Warren died, they didn't know what to do with me. Like I was a piano they didn't have room for. It was my middle son, Travis, who made the offer. "Why don't you come stay with us in Georgia, Mom? We've got the space." His wife, Maureen, had smiled and nodded, but there was something in her eyes that didn't match the motion. I ignored it. I packed my photo albums, my recipe box, the Afghan my mother crocheted before her hands gave out. Everything else I donated or sold. By the time I boarded the plane, I had 2 suitcases and a shoulder full of hope. Their house was big, quiet, too quiet. The kids were teenagers, always gone or behind doors. Maureen worked long hours, and Travis had become something I didn't recognize. He was distracted, distant, always tapping on his phone, nodding absently through conversation. My room was near the laundry, no windows, just a small lamp and a folding chair. "We'll fix it up," Maureen promised. They never did. At first, I made myself useful, cooked dinner, watered the garden, sewed buttons, and mended tears. But usefulness is not the same as belonging. After a month, Maureen said, "We appreciate everything, Ruth, but you don't need to do so much. Just relax." So I tried relaxing. I sat on the porch in the mornings, read paperbacks, fed the neighbor's cat. But slowly, the silences got heavier. Conversations shrank. I wasn't included in weekend plans. I wasn't asked to join dinners with their friends. One night, I overheard Maureen on the phone. "It's like having a guest who never leaves. I thought this would be easier." I didn't cry. I just folded towels tighter the next day. Stopped leaving my tea mug in the sink. But it didn't matter. The tone was set. Travis started suggesting alternatives. Maybe an apartment nearby. Maybe a retirement community. Maybe back to Minnesota. He said it gently, like a son trying not to wake a sleeping dog. I nodded. I always nodded. But I wasn't asleep. I was taking notes. Every maybe was a push. Every forgotten birthday. Every missed goodnight. Every door closed softly. In my face, I filed them away. They didn't know I still had the house. Not Halberd Street, that one I'd sold after Warren died, but a small cabin near a lake in North Carolina, bought in '88 after a road trip that ended with both of us drunk on lemonade and sunburnt smiles. We never used it much, but it was there, paid in full and still in my name. I found the paperwork buried in my suitcase, under scarves and books. I called the utilities, checked on the taxes. Everything was current. I could go. I didn't leave right away. I waited until the house was empty, left a note. "I'm not gone. I just went home." Then I got in the car, turned on a playlist Warren had once made on CD, and drove. The road to North Carolina was lined with dogwoods and telephone poles, the kind of scenery that makes you forget the noise behind you. I stopped at a gas station in Tennessee and bought a thermos of black coffee and a packet of lemon cookies. It felt good to make a decision that didn't need to be approved. When I pulled up to the cabin, it was almost dusk. The roof still held, though the shingles looked tired. The porch steps moaned like they'd missed me. I unlocked the door and was hit with the scent of old pine and dust. It wasn't clean, it wasn't polished, but it was mine. That first night, I slept on a mattress wrapped in plastic, wearing my coat over my pajamas. There was no power yet, no heat, but I'd never felt warmer. In the morning, I called the electric company, called the water office, called the propane supplier. They asked questions, offered forms. I gave them my name. "Miss Hargrave, welcome back," one of them said. That nearly broke me. I spent the first week cleaning, scrubbing out cabinets, chasing out mice, airing quilts on the porch railings. I found a little market in town where the clerk wore curlers and called me Han. I bought supplies, baked cornbread, and brewed strong tea. And every time I boiled water or folded linen, I thought, this is what it means to live. The silence was different here, not cold like it had been in Georgia, not full of swallowed words. It was soft. It waited with me. Then one morning, Travis called. "Mom, where are you?" "At the lake," I said. "The cabin." He was quiet. Then, "Why didn't you tell us?" I looked at the hills beyond the window, soft and blue in the morning light. "Because I didn't want you to stop me." "But we were worried," he said. "No," I replied. "You were inconvenienced." He didn't argue. In the weeks that followed, I settled in, rejoined the local library board, bought a little radio. Hattie, my old friend from college, came up for a weekend with rhubarb pie and a puzzle book. We talked for hours, our feet tucked under crocheted blankets, about everything and nothing. The locals remembered me, sort of. "Aren't you the Hargrave woman, the one who used to host 4th of July picnics?" Yes, that was me. That is me. Word got back to Maureen. I got a typed letter in the mail. "We're glad you're doing well. Let us know if you ever want to visit the kids." No signature, just the Smith family. I placed the letter in the fire, watched the corners curl and lift. I hadn't left for revenge. I hadn't left in anger. I left because I remembered I had a choice. I'd lived for decades believing that a good woman keeps the peace, makes herself small, sacrifices without complaint. But peace isn't silent when it costs you yourself, and I was done trading identity for gratitude. I started hosting a monthly supper at the cabin. Nothing fancy, just a long table, borrowed chairs, casseroles, and laughter. People came, old widows, young couples, teens who needed a hot meal. I didn't need to be useful. I just needed to be present. One evening, I looked around the table, saw a teenager helping an old man butter his biscuit, and felt a lump in my throat. No one here needed to earn their seat. They just had to show up. That's what I'd needed all along. Just a place where showing up was enough. Spring bled into summer like watercolor slow and soft around the edges. The trees wore green like they'd been waiting all year. The lake, once frozen in silence, now laughed with children and glinted gold in the evenings. I bought a rocking chair for the porch, painted it myself, barn red. Sat there most mornings, with my coffee and my thoughts, watching the world go about its business without asking me to explain myself. One morning, as I was sweeping the porch, a car pulled into the gravel drive. A woman stepped out, young, 30 maybe. Her blouse, too crisp for this heat, heels not built for pebbled paths. "You must be Ruth Hargrave," she said. Her voice was pleasant, practiced. "I suppose I must," I replied. "I'm from Elms and Company. Estate advising." Your son asked us to check on you. He mentioned concerns about cognitive decline. I blinked, then laughed so hard I had to sit down. You think I've lost my mind because I moved into a house I own, made soup from scratch, and stopped picking up after people who treat me like I'm invisible? She didn't respond, just opened her folder. I didn't let her finish. I walked inside and closed the door. Later that evening, I typed a letter, addressed it to Travis. I don't need monitoring. I don't need rescuing. I need you to stop pretending I'm broken simply because I stopped being convenient. I didn't send it. I didn't need to. The message had already been delivered, clear as the empty space I left behind. I spent the next week installing a new mailbox, one with a lock. I painted the numbers by hand, put a flower pot beside it, let them know this wasn't a retreat. It was a return. In August, we had a heat wave. I pulled out the old fans, made iced tea, and hosted supper in the backyard under string lights and mosquito nets. Hattie brought her cousin retired professor, read poetry after dessert. A high schooler named Eli played old gospel songs on a portable speaker. A woman from town who had lost her job brought banana pudding and cried when someone asked for seconds. And I sat there, surrounded by mismatched chairs and stories, and realized that I hadn't rebuilt a life. I'd remembered how to keep one. Sometimes I'd think of Georgia, not with anger, but with distance, like a movie I didn't finish watching. Travis called again, once, left a message. If you're happy, that's what matters. It sounded like he meant it. I didn't call back. I didn't need to. Instead, I watched the leaves start to turn, reds and golds and burnt orange, falling like confetti from the hands of a season ready to rest. And I rested too. Not because I was tired, but because I was finally at peace. By October, the cabin had fully become my home again. I painted the front door teal. Not a pastel, not a safe blue, but a bold, bright teal that clashed gloriously with the autumn leaves. A neighbor offered to repaint it, something more natural. I laughed, handed him a slice of pie, and changed the subject. I started writing again. Nothing grand, just short reflections, things I remembered, things I didn't want to forget. I kept them in a leather-bound journal Warren once bought me at a flea market. He said I'd fill it someday. I never had, until now. One chilly morning, I found a package on my porch. No return address. Inside, a small photo album, old pictures of Travis and his brothers, me holding them at the zoo, blowing candles at a beach picnic. A note tucked between the pages read, "Thought you should have these back." -M. I stared at it for a long time, then placed it on the shelf without a word. Fall passed gently. The supper gatherings continued. More chairs, more people. I taught some of the young mothers how to knit. Hattie brought a neighbor who turned out to be an herbalist. We traded recipes and stories and tea leaves that smelled like comfort. And then came winter. The snow was quiet, respectful. It dressed the trees with care. I stayed indoors more, lit the fireplace early, kept soup simmering. People still came. Fewer maybe, but deeper. We talked about grief, resilience, faith, what it means to be seen when your hair has thinned and your stories are older than your guests. One night, I sat on the couch, wrapped in Warren's old sweater. I thought about legacy, not the kind in wills or plaques, but the kind made of voices that keep echoing. I had spent most of my life making myself small, making space for others. And yet, all I'd ever wanted was space that would hold me in return. The cabin, in all its drafty, cracked window glory, had done that. It held me. One morning, early spring, I woke up to a letter in the mail, handwritten, from Travis. Mom, it said, I was wrong. I didn't understand then what you were doing. I think maybe I still don't fully. But I want you to know, I hear you now. If you'll have me, I'd like to visit. I didn't rush to answer. I finished my tea, fed the birds, let the day stretch out. Then I sat at the table and wrote back, bring a sweater. It gets cold here at night. R double quote. When he arrived 2 weeks later, he didn't come with excuses or apologies, just a pie from a bakery and a hesitant smile. He hugged me longer than I expected. Nice door, he said. Too bright? No, he said. It suits you. We sat in the rocking chairs, just like Warren and I used to. He asked questions. He listened. When he left, he asked if he could come again. I told him yes, but I didn't say when, because this story, my story, wasn't about a reunion. It was about return, not to people, but to myself. I don't know what happens next. I don't need to. The lake still ripples. The birds still sing. The kettle still whistles when it's ready. And so do I.